Greetings and welcome to the Astronomy Picture of the Day podcast. Today's picture for January 18th of 2025 is titled Full Moon, Full Mars. So what do we see here? Well, here we see images of two different celestial objects, and in the foreground we see our moon, and that is the large natural satellite of Earth. And we can see the distinct coloration in it, the very light colors signifying the highlands, more heavily cratered regions on the moon, and the darker maria or seas, which are not water seas, but are actually seas of lava that formed billions of years ago, and of course have long since solidified. But they're much younger and have far fewer craters than the highland area. Now the dots going around and past behind it are the planet Mars. So that's a number of different images of the planet Mars. And this would have occurred around the time when Mars was at what is called opposition, when Mars is opposite in the sky to the sun. Now the full moon is also at that position, as the full moon will also always be opposite in the sky to the sun. So with this point, and this just also happened to happen, that on January 13th, the two of them were at opposition together and were perfectly lined up, so that from certain locations on Earth, Mars appeared to pass directly behind our moon. Now that doesn't always happen. While the solar system is relatively flat, the orbits of the planets and the moon are always slightly tilted relative to one another. And very often an object will pass just above or below it instead of directly in front of it. However, on January 13th, if you were in the right location, you were able to see an occultation of Mars by the moon. Now this will also happen again in just a few more weeks. And in fact, on February 9th, it will again occur. In this case, it will be visible from Russia, China, parts of Canada, and Greenland. So those are the areas where you'll be able to see Mars pass behind the moon. Now, again, this is what we call an occultation, and happens relatively frequently. So the moon will regularly occult various astronomical objects. And that's of course because of its larger size. It has a larger apparent diameter on the sky, and will therefore be able to pass in front of more objects. Now, other planets can also occult things like stars. So you could watch the planet Jupiter pass in front of a star, but things have to be lined up much more precisely then, because Jupiter has a much smaller angular size on the sky than does our moon. But we can get various different occultations, which are actually very interesting for being able to study objects and to be able to learn more about them and see how the light of the object disappears behind one another. So it's one of the ways with stars and occultation by the moon that we can learn things like sizes of stars, because how big the star is, the longer it'll take to disappear behind the limb of the moon. So even though the stars appear all as point sources to us, the little bit of time that it takes to disappear behind the moon can actually tell us something about how large it actually is. So that was our picture of the day for January 18th of 2025. It was titled Full Moon, Full Mars. We'll be back again tomorrow for the next picture, previewed to be Touchdown. So we'll see what that is about tomorrow. And until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.